Welcome to our program on Kardec Radio.
Hello dear friends, welcome back to Spiritism and the Media here on Kardec Radio. Today I'd like to bring a text from the book Our Daily Bread by the Spirit Emmanuel through the medium Chico Xavier. It is number 165, False Speeches. So Emmanuel, as usual, he brings a text from the Gospel. This is from James 1:22, and he says, "Do not merely listen to the word and so deceive yourselves. Do what it says." So here he's talking about false speeches, and let's see how we can connect this lesson to our daily lives when you're talking about media and when we are talking about our daily situations when we face false speeches. So he says here, "It's never too much to comment on the importance and the sacred character of the word. The gospel itself affirms that in the beginning it was the Verb, and if we examine closely the actual state of the world today, we would recognize that all of the existing difficult situations originate in the poor application of the power of the Verb." So when we go to John, he's here talking about John, that he starts his gospel saying that in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. So it's a way for John to say that in the beginning the Word it represents the God's power. So the same way that it has the God's power, our own word has our own power. So it's very important, as we said here in previous shows many times, how important it is for us to be aware of the words that we use in our daily lives and how powerful they can be to the good and to the bad. And here he's saying that many difficulties that we have in our lives, in our daily lives, they come from those words when we do not know how to use them wisely, the best way we could be using them. And now he talks about false speeches. And he says, "False speeches fooled individuals, families, and nations. Some believed in vain promises, others in false theories, others were still anticipating liberty without assuming the obligations. Races, groups, and people, upon identifying the illusion, mutually accuse one another, seeking the paternity of the faults." And if we see the world we are today, right now, especially let's talk about the pandemic and how many false speeches we have seen since the beginning of the pandemic about what we should or what we should not do, if we should wear a mask or not, social distancing or not, lockdown or not. We have many different situations. We have many different ways of seeing that many different leaders or people in the society, they came out and they claimed their own speeches, and we saw many of them were false since in the beginning, and how many people, many nations, they were harmed about that. And not only that, I'm only using that as an example, but in the past we can see many other examples when a group of people they follow some false speeches, and we said it many times how important it is for us to analyze any speech, any word that come to us, because many times they may seem like beautiful, we may see those words and they may seem as the truth, but they're not. So it's important for us to analyze, especially today that we are bombarded by many different opinions from many different texts and videos. It's very important to really analyze them before we follow this or that theory. And here he says, "The creation of the human verb has cost much blood and many tears. It would be impossible at this time to compute that painful price or determine the amount of time that will be required for the precious rescue." So how many times you see in the past history, how many times you see wars that started with the use of the word, how many leaders made the populations go to the wrong path, using their word, their speeches, the way that they can make that people be engaged with what they say. So it's very important for us to analyze the past as well, not to repeat the same mistakes here in the present. And most importantly, we know through Spiritism that we have these vibrations that come with the words, the way we speak. So those vibrations, they can at the same time connect the spirits around us. Depending on what we say, we may attract good spirits and bad spirits. So let's always think about that as well. And he says here, in the whirlwind of the struggles, the friend of the Christ can seek refuge and take advantage of the treasure of the gospel, benefiting his individual sphere. So the gospel is always where we can go and we can find the right resources, we can find a good example of the use of the word. Jesus is the best example, as the Spirits always tell us in the Spirit's book. Jesus is our model, our guide, so the best way for us to see how to use the words in our daily lives, let's watch Jesus. Let's read the gospel and see what Jesus used to do, so we can try to follow his examples in our daily lives. And he says here, being able to comply with the words of the Master within us is the divine program. Without instituting that plan for salvation, the other services that are our responsibility would constitute sublimated theology, brilliant reasoning, magnificent literature, great admiration and respect from the inferior camp of the world, but never the required realization. So we may have good words, beautiful words, but if they are not according to the teachings and to the examples that Jesus brought to us, they will be empty words. They won't help us to go to our own path, to the right path where we need to go. And he says here, if he finalizes saying, that is the reason why it is always dangerous to stop on the path and listen to he who flees from the reality of our obligations. So let's always pay attention to who we are following. We may listen to all of the ones around us, yes, but we must analyze what they're saying and follow only the right words, those that are helping us, helping our path and helping the path of our society and of humanity. So now, as usual, I'm going to read a passage randomly from the book Happy Life by Joana de Angelis through the medium Divaldo Pereira Franco. So number 30. Every vice enslaves and kills, though indulged in social drinking, a veritable gateway to alcoholism. Don't become a smoker, for while it may seem stylish and elegant, it will bind you in the shackles of deadly tobacco dependency. Gambling, sex, gluttony, and off-color joking, to name just a few, start small but add up as a moral prisons, if not actual jail time. A healthy lifestyle makes for a joyful, long life for those who pursue it. Thank you so much for your company. God bless all of us. See you next week.